Okay, but really though, how many times have you started the week feeling like you're already behind? You know, with a to-do list that's like a mile long.
Yeah.
I know I have. And it's not even just all the stuff I have to do. It's that feeling of just like never enough time, never enough energy, never enough
Yeah.
me.
Yo, yeah, that's like the express lane to burnout city. And it's so weird because we always think the answer is doing more, like trying to cram even more into our already crazy schedules.
Right, like that time I thought I could do a total life makeover in a weekend. Clean the whole apartment, start a new workout, A&D learn Italian all before Monday. Spoiler alert, total flop.
Oh, I can totally see it. By Sunday night, I bet you were speaking fluent exhaustion.
Pretty much, yeah. Which is why I find this whole 1 hour a day thing kind of interesting. It's almost like the opposite of that whole crazy, got to do it all energy.
Exactly. Because here's the thing. We way overestimate how much time we need to actually make progress on something, and we totally underestimate how much time we waste. Like, think about it. How much of your day is just on autopilot? Scrolling, clipping, getting sucked into stuff that doesn't even matter.
So instead of trying to add another thing to my to-do list, it's more about like rescuing the time that's already slipping away.
Exactly. What if you could just take back one of those wasted hours and use it for something you actually care about? That's 7 hours a week, 30 hours a month. It really adds up.
Okay, I see where you're going with this, but I think a lot of people, myself included, might be a little skeptical. Like, can 1 hour really make that much of a difference?
Okay, so imagine you plant a tree. You're not going to see a huge difference after just one day of watering it, right? But if you keep watering it day after day over time, it grows into something
All
amazing.
right, so I get the tree metaphor. But wait, are we comparing ourselves to trees now?
Well, not exactly. The point is that small, consistent actions, even if they seem tiny at the time, compound over time. It's like putting money in savings every day, even a little bit, will eventually grow into something big.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light here. But how do we actually make this 1 hour thing work? Where do we even begin?
There's a really simple framework with 3 key steps that can help you get the most out of this approach.
Okay, I'm all ears. Let's hear it. I'm ready to reclaim my hour.
Step one is figuring out the one thing that would make a real difference in your life if you worked on it consistently. This could be anything: learning something new, starting a side hustle, finally writing that book you've always wanted to write, getting in shape, decluttering your place, literally anything that really matters to you.
So it's not about trying to do it all. It's about picking that one thing that would have the biggest impact.
Exactly. It's all about focusing your energy where it matters most. And step two is where it gets real. You have to protect that hour like it's the key to your dream life. No distractions, no multitasking. This is your sacred time for you and the thing you want to do.
Yeah, well, easier said than done, right? Distractions are like ninjas. They just pop up out of
Oh,
nowhere.
for sure. That's why you got to be deliberate about making a space where you won't be distracted. Phone on silent, or even better, put it in another room. Close your email. Tell your family you're not to be disturbed. Treat this hour like some important meeting you can't miss because it is.
Okay, so protect the hour. Got it. What's step three?
Step three is about breaking down your task into smaller chunks you can actually manage in that hour. Don't try to write the whole book in one sitting or learn a whole language in 60 minutes. Instead, just focus on making a little bit of progress each day. Maybe write one page, practice Spanish for 15 minutes, or declutter a drawer for 30. The point is to just focus on what you can realistically do in that hour.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about consistency and like celebrating the small wins you get along the way.
You got it. Now, I know this all sounds good in theory, but I bet you have some real world experience trying to actually make this 1 hour thing happen. What were some of the biggest challenges you ran into?
Oh, definitely. One of the biggest hurdles for me was getting past the I'm too tired excuse. After a long day, the last thing I wanted to do was spend an hour working on some personal goal. All I wanted was to crash on the couch and watch some reality TV.
Oh, I think we've all been there. What helped you push past that initial resistance? Was it just sheer willpower?
You know, honestly, it was more about tricking myself. Instead of thinking about the whole hour, I'd tell myself, just do 10 minutes. If you still hate it after 10 minutes, you can stop.
Mhm.
But honestly, most of the time, once I got started, I'd actually get into it and want to keep going.
That's such a good strategy. It's amazing how much momentum you can build just by taking that first step, even if it's a tiny one. But I have a feeling your journey wasn't all smooth sailing. Were there any, shall we say, entertaining mishaps along the way?
Oh, there were definitely a few. I remember one time I decided I was going to use my hour to learn Spanish. I was all in. Downloaded an app, got a fancy notebook, the whole works. You want to know what I actually spent most of that hour doing?
Okay, now I'm really curious. Don't tell me you fell asleep on your fancy notebook.
Well, not quite.
Ah,
I spent like 45 minutes watching YouTube videos of polyglots talking about how they learned languages. So meta, right? I got so caught up in the idea of learning Spanish that I forgot to actually, learn it.
oh my gosh, that's hilarious. It's like the ultimate procrastination trap, researching how to do something instead of actually doing it. But hey, at least you were inspired, right?
I guess so. But it was a good reminder that even when you have the best intentions, it's so easy to get sidetracked. The key is to, catch yourself when you're falling into those distraction rabbit holes and just gently steer yourself back on course.
Yeah, so true. Speaking of getting sidetracked, I think one of the toughest parts of this whole 1 hour thing is staying consistent. It's easy to start strong with a new goal, but it can be so hard to keep that momentum going when life gets crazy and you're just not feeling it.
Totally. How do we fight that? How do we stay motivated and keep showing up even when we have a million things going on and the couch is calling our name?
Okay, so first of all, I think it's important to remember that consistency is something you practice. It's not like a destination. It's not about being perfect every single day. It's about making the effort to show up, even when you don't want to, even when things are tough. And the more you do it, the easier it
It's
gets.
like you're building a muscle, right?
Bubbles.
The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that even on the days when you don't have a full hour, even 15, 20 minutes is better than nothing. Like something is always better than nothing.
Any progress is good progress.
Yeah.
It's about keeping that forward momentum, even if it's a tiny step.
Right. Don't let those off days totally derail you. Just acknowledge that you didn't do as much as you wanted to and then get back on track the next day. But even with all that, I think one of the hardest things to get over is that voice of self-doubt. The one that says, what's the point? This 1 hour isn't even going to make a difference anyway.
Ugh, I hate that voice. It can be so sneaky and really convincing. How do we shut that inner critic up?
I think it helps to remember that even little, consistent efforts, no matter how small they seem in the moment, they add up over time. Think about those drops of water that wear away a stone. One drop doesn't do much, but over time, those constant drops actually carve out a huge impact.
I love that visual. It's like a reminder that we don't always see the results of our efforts right away, but that doesn't mean they aren't working behind the scenes. It's about trusting the process and knowing that those consistent actions are making a change, even if we can't see it yet. Okay, but before we get too deep into the philosophy of all this, I have to ask, did you have any other 1 hour mishaps along the way? I'm picturing you trying to run a marathon in an hour.
Well, okay, not a marathon, but there was this one time where I tried to fit a whole week's worth of exercise into 1 hour.
Oh, I have a feeling this is going to be good. Tell me everything.
So I had this big plan, right? I was going to crush this intense workout, feel super accomplished, and be ready to take on the world. But then, about 10 minutes in,
Wait for it.
I pulled a muscle.
No. Are you serious?
Yeah, totally embarrassing and painful. I was so focused on doing way too much too soon that I completely forgot to listen to my body. My enthusiasm got the best of me, I guess you could say.
Well, hey, at least you can laugh about it now. But it's a good reminder that starting small and building up slowly is so important, especially with exercise.
Oh, it is. It's all about finding that balance between pushing yourself and being kind to yourself, knowing your limits, and celebrating your progress, even if there are a few pulled muscles along the way.
Exactly. And I think that's a really important point, especially these days when we're constantly hearing about productivity and hustle culture. It's so easy to fall into that trap of thinking we need to be on all the time, constantly striving and achieving. But that's just not sustainable, and it's definitely not healthy.
You're so right. When we push ourselves too hard, we end up burnt out, exhausted, and even start to resent the things we're trying to achieve. This 1 hour approach, it's like a perfect antidote to that because it's about giving ourselves permission to slow down, focus on what really matters, and make steady progress without sacrificing our well-being.
Yeah, it's about finding a pace that works for you, that lets you show up for yourself without feeling totally drained or overwhelmed. And it's about knowing that progress doesn't always move in a straight line. There are going to be days when you're super motivated and get a ton done, and then there are going to be days when you just need to chill and give yourself a break.
Totally, and that's okay.
Exactly.
Mm.
It's about embracing how life ebbs and flows and understanding that being consistent doesn't mean being perfect. It just means showing up, even when it's hard, even when you just don't feel like it. And it also means celebrating the small wins you get along the way.
Yes, like acknowledging the progress you're making, even if it seems small. Because those small wins, they build up over time and help you stay motivated and excited to keep going. And I think it's important to remember that this 1 hour thing isn't just about hitting some external goal. It's also about investing in yourself, your personal growth, and just your well being in general.
I love that. It's about carving out time for those things that feed your soul, that make you happy, that make you feel alive, right? Whether that's reading, spending time in nature, doing something creative, or just taking a few minutes to meditate and connect with yourself.
Exactly. It's about making your own needs a priority and making sure you're taking care of yourself physically and mentally. Because when you feel good, when you have energy and feel fulfilled, you're able to show up better in all parts of your life. So, to bring this back to our listeners, the big question is, what are you going to dedicate your 1 hour to?
Right. That is the big question. And I think it's going to be different for everyone. It's about figuring out what really matters to you, what lights you up, what makes you excited to get out of bed in the morning.
It really is. And it's about giving yourself permission to explore and experiment to find what works for you. There's no right or wrong answer here. It's all about finding what feels right and what helps you create a life that feels fulfilling and in line with who you are.
What I love about it is that anyone can do it. You don't need any special skills or equipment or anything. All you need is 60 minutes and the willingness to show up for yourself.
I love that. It's such a simple yet powerful idea, and it reminds us that we all have the power to create the life we want 1 hour at a time.
It's not about trying to add more to our crazy schedules. It's about being more intentional with the time we have.
It really is. It's
Yeah.
about taking back those wasted hours, those times we spend mindlessly scrolling or binge watching, and putting that time towards something that actually nourishes us.
And it's about realizing that small, consistent actions can lead to amazing results.
Absolutely. Trust the process, keep showing up, and you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish.
Okay, so as we're wrapping up this conversation about the power of 1 hour a day, I want to leave you with a challenge.
All right, I'm in. What is it?
I want you to take some time to think about what you want to dedicate your 1 hour to. What's that one thing that, if you worked on it consistently, would really make a difference in your life?
Yeah, and once you've figured out what that thing is, I challenge you to commit to it, even if it's just for a week. Just see what happens when you take that 1 hour each day to work on your dreams, your passions, your own personal growth. You might be surprised at what you find.
I think a lot of people don't realize just how powerful those small, consistent actions can be. They're always looking for that quick fix, that magic solution that's going to change their life overnight. But real change takes time, it takes effort, and it takes dedication.
Like that famous quote, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step.
Exactly. This 1 hour approach is all about taking those small steps day after day until you reach your destination.
And again, it's not about being perfect. It's about consistency. It's about being there for yourself, even when it's hard, even when life gets in the way.
And being kind to yourself throughout the whole process.
Yes. Self-compassion is so important. It's about remembering that we're all human, we all mess up, and that's totally fine.
It's about giving yourself permission to make mistakes, to learn from them, and to grow.
Exactly. And to celebrate the progress you make, no matter how small.
We can get so caught up in the end goal that we forget to just enjoy the journey.
So true. It's about finding the joy in the process itself, in those little wins, in the everyday things that help us get closer to our dreams.
And it's about realizing that the real growth happens during the journey itself.
Couldn't agree more.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into the power of 1 hour a day, I want to leave you with a few final thoughts. First, remember that you are capable of incredible things. You have the power to create a life you love, a life that feels right and fulfilling.
You are worthy, you are capable, and you deserve all the good things life has to offer.
And second, don't underestimate those small, consistent actions. Those little habits, those little steps forward, they add up over time and create amazing results.
It's like watching the compound effect in action. Trust the process. Keep showing up, and you'll be amazed by what you can achieve.
And finally, be kind to yourself along the way. Celebrate your wins, embrace the challenges, and remember that progress doesn't always happen in a straight line.
Give yourself some grace, allow yourself to stumble, and never, ever give up on your dreams.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, that's all the time we have for today. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the power of 1 hour a day. Remember, it's not about perfection, it's about progress.
And it's about believing in yourself and your ability to create a life you truly love.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Life Unfiltered.